Hey there, everyone. Welcome to After the Week. It is Denise Salcedo and Will Washington here today. We're so happy to be back. By the way, Will, I cannot get over that show intro. I'm
No,
still
it's so
super
great.
obsessed with it.
I know. One day I'm gonna record your reaction during it because it's always great. Mine too, by the way. That thing is great. Shout out Mikey Ruckus for putting that together for us because I couldn't have possibly done that any better than he could have. So again, Mikey Ruckus is the man.
Hell yeah, man. Shout out to Mikey. But for those of you who are like, what the hell's going on? What's behind Denise? Why is she in a kitchen? What is this? A home cooking show? What's going on? So for those of you guys who do not know, right now I am in Ohio. So I don't have my normal setup that I normally do. So you guys are getting a different background for right now. But we're gonna make it work. I got my travel kit going. But Will, how's your weekend been, man?
My weekend is I don't know. It's been interesting, but
Has
not
it
for wrestling
sucked or
related
has it
purposes.
been great?
I don't know. It's been great. I'll say that much. I'll leave a little bit ominous as far as I'm concerned, and then I'll explain at the end of the month. But for those folks who are a little bit astute, just pay a little bit of attention to your boy for the next 3 or 4 weeks, and then
Just a little bit?
just a little bit. Just pay a little bit of attention, and then I'll explain right around my birthday, which is October 26th. So we'll get on all of that. But how are you? How is Ohio? You're on the go traveling. It feels like you got like a little podcast alley going where you are because you are at a wedding with a bunch of other podcasters who all have to do this kind of thing. So how's it been?
It's been pretty good, man. Yesterday I came in and I napped, I ate, I napped again because I left so early and I didn't get enough sleep on the plane. So anyways, I mean, honestly, it's not too bad. It looks pretty nice outside. I'm in Akron, whatever the hell it's
Akron?
called. Akron. Thank you. I've been practicing that goddamn city name for a full 24 hours and I keep forgetting because it's spelled differently than it sounds. So I'm like, okay, whatever.
I guess I've just always known what Akron, Ohio is.
Because of LeBron James, right?
Actually, no. Fun story. My dad was actually raised in Ohio. My dad's from Xenia, Ohio, but he's been all around, and so I know Ohio fairly well, even though I've never actually been. But it's a place my dad talks about, and so it's just I don't know. I know Akron. I know Xenia. I know
Okay.
Ohio.
Well, you know what, Will? Congratulations on being an expert on everything, even Ohio. I hate it, Will. You're too smart for all of us. All right.
Hey, you saw Tony Khan. He gave me props this week for my wrestling knowledge, so I will take that.
Okay, well, you know what? This is turning into Will's the greatest, and now I just feel like shit. So thanks, Will. Not just kidding.
Now we'll just X out the after the week at the bottom. It's just Will's the greatest show. That's fine
Yeah,
by me.
Will's the greatest, and we're moving on. Awesome. All right, guys. So let's get into this. For those of you who are new to the show and you're like, what the hell is going on here? So basically, what we do here is Will and I pick 3 of the best things we saw in wrestling this week, and then we pick one that's the worst. However, we did have a fan last week who gave us a little bit of advice on how we should format the show, and I actually really loved the advice that they gave. So shout out to them. Thank you so much for giving us some feedback because we do listen to you guys and whatever you guys kind of say. We do listen and implement that into the show. So normally what we would do was our 3 best and our worst for the week. But this time how we're going to go ahead and format it is we're going to do our 2 best, our worst, and then our very best, just to keep the suspension, a little bit alive there.
Yeah, and let's end on a positive note. That's really how they put it. And I thought, you know what? That's a great idea because, the last few weeks, and granted, it's not that it's been bad, but we have been okay, what's the worst thing of the week? Okay, bye. And so, yeah, it is kind of nice to be able to switch it up.
Bye, wrestling sucks. Peace. We'll see you next week. It's true though, and when I saw that, I was like, "Damn!" I was like, "You would think that Will and I would have thought about it. 2 brains, and we didn't think about anything."
Nope.
Okay, so here's the thing that I wanted to ask you, Will, before we get into all of this, and those in the chat can chime in. Also, if you want to help support this podcast, and you get your question or comment read here on the stream, you are more than welcome to send in a super chat. Not only do you get your opinion read on here, but it helps keep us funded here on the show. It helps me paying Will. No one's gonna want to pay us anymore if I can't speak. But anyways, please send in a super chat at any point throughout the show, and we'll make sure to bring those up during the stream. But Will, I wanted to ask you because as I was thinking thinking what my options for this week were going to be. I'm just going to say it. I didn't think this week was all that in a bag of chips. To be honest, I kind of thought this week was kind of mid. Will, do you agree or disagree? What did you think of the wrestling week overall?
Disagree, and I'll say why. I particularly really loved Monday Night Raw, but a lot of what I loved about Raw this week had to do with the fact that Raw was very un-Raw like. I felt like it was the most un-Raw like show they've had in ages. Like the way the show was formatted, I said this on Twitter, but I felt like Raw felt very much like the average Dynamite in that it was like match back to back with match, back to back with match, back to back with match, and any promos or in-ring segments they had were all related to the match they had. It was a very, very different Raw. It wasn't anything like Raw as we've known it, and that was refreshing. I thought it was a great show. I thought Dynamite did the opposite. And was like, hey, let's see how raw like we can be. And then SmackDown was but overall, I don't know. I guess I was still intrigued by the week.
I get what you mean, and I agree with you on your comments about Raw, because it was, and we got Devin here who says that it was actually easiest, the most wrestling-est Raw he's ever seen, or at least recently, and I do agree with that. Well, I did appreciate the format of Raw and all of that. I just didn't think, like, going back, I thought, man, I feel like usually I have like some items that I feel really passionate about this week, like on the show. And I don't really necessarily feel passionate about some of the options that I chose, but to me, they were still the best of the week. And then I thought, well, that's kind of lame, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But we'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
All right.
How about you give us a start on your number 3?
Okay, man, putting me on the spot here. All right,
Yes.
So my number 3 here. Hold on, let me pull up my list before I mess up my own list here, because apparently I have a terrible memory. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull up. Thank you, Will. I forgot you were doing this. I was like, wait, where's the buttons at? Okay, so my third best of the week, I'm actually gonna give it to a segment on Raw, and that was Matt Riddle and Damian Priest, and I'm gonna give it to them for a specific reason. Well, one, and this is not the specific reason, but one, when it comes to Matt Riddle, I just feel like he's been consistently pulling some of the best work, just nonstop, back to back every single week. And I feel like somehow, some way, I don't want to say he's gotten better, but I just feel he's like, I don't know, he's just nailing things a lot harder in the ring. And that's not to say like, oh, he wasn't before. It's just a little bit more noticeable, I feel. And so because of that, I feel like that was one thing that stood out. But the major reason why I also chose this was because the Judgment Day has sort of been like a hit or miss thing on Raw. And let's be honest, it's been a little bit more misses than hits. I mean, aside if you're going to laugh about like the Dominic, Rhea Ripley type of stuff, then okay, that's fine, right? That's, haha, funny. But it's not necessarily great. It's nothing that I'm going to be remembering in about 10 years when I think about some of the best things in wrestling, right? I'm not going to be thinking that stuff. So the point is, that they made, Damian Priest looked phenomenal in this match against Matt Riddle. They both looked phenomenal. They pulled out a great main event. And in this situation, like, I know exactly why they had, obviously, Matt Riddle going over. That's perfectly fine. But if they would have had Damian Priest win this, I wouldn't have had a problem whatsoever, because I really do think they need to add a little bit more credibility to the Judgment Day. So with that being said, I thought they did a lot of good for the Judgment Day in this program, because we need to take them more seriously on Monday Night Raw.
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I always feel nervous. I'm like, is Will gonna hate my opinion? Is he not gonna hate my opinion?
No. And following up on the stuff with Riddle. We actually got a super chat here from Sheldon Jackson. Says, love this podcast. Just wanted to get your thoughts on Daniel Cormier being the ref for the Fight Pit.
Has that been announced?
Yes, that was announced yesterday.
Shit, I didn't see that. Holy crap. Okay, well, there you go. You're getting my first reaction to this. Sorry, I've been traveling, guys. For those who don't know, I've been living in Ohio for the last 24 hours. But Daniel Cormier?
Yeah,
explain.
So hold on. I want, like, this is cool because we're getting, like, in the moment thoughts. Like, I've had a day to stew on this, but this is like brand new for you.
Okay, so first of all, I love Daniel Cormier, and he was actually one of my interviews, like when I was not first getting started, that's a lie, but when I was kind of like breaking through, I guess you can say, in wrestling. He was one of the guys that I remember that interview being like one of my noteworthy ones where I started making friends, not just with people like in wrestling world, but also like in the MMA world, right? Like it kind of opened up a little bit more doors for me. And I remember that interview and really quickly, like freaking nuts, because he walked this blue carpet and I was like bottom of the barrel at the end, like, you know, like the lowest of the low when it came to the media. And you got all of your big sports outlets, like 100 of them before me. And Daniel Cormier is walking down this carpet and absolutely nobody is stopping him. And he keeps walking and walking. And then finally, I'm like, Daniel, hi, I'm Denise. Would you mind doing an interview with me? I was like the only person that did an interview with him because everybody was like, I don't know, just like asleep at the wheel or something, whatever. So I accidentally shook his hand, Will, and this was the problem. His hand was broken and I didn't know, and I shook it. And so when I shook his hand, it was just like a mesh of bones and skin, like all together. And I was like, I'm so sorry. But I didn't like think like don't shake the guy's hand, but like he didn't seem mad about it or anything. So I shook his broken hand by accident. But anyway, so Daniel Cormier, I freaking love this guy. I think he's awesome. And I know that he's been wanting to do stuff with WWE for a while now. Like this was something that was talked about, I feel like multiple times. And so for them to finally actually do something, I feel like this is a great thing.
Yeah, and I think that the fight pit is the right place for it. I think that the whole idea of the fight pit, I think one is a great idea to do this time around because I feel like a lot of Matt Riddle's run on the main roster has a little bit delegitimized him in that I feel like NXT and even MLW did a good job of reminding us that look, Matt Riddle, he's silly, he's a pothead, all of this stuff, but at the end of the day, he's gonna kick your ass because he's a legit fighter, right? And I feel like the main roster run has done a lot to make us forget that. Like, yeah, he's held his own as a wrestler, but they haven't done a whole lot to remind us that this guy is a shoot fighter. And bringing the fight pit in is a great way to do that. And then bringing Daniel Cormier in to actually officiate it, I think is going to, again, add some legitimacy to it. I also think this is a match that's pretty much set up for Riddle to win.
It's gotta be. If it's not, it'd be like, what? Why would you do this?
Yeah, no, this isn't something Seth Rollins can win. And so at the end of the day, I think anything that legitimizes pro wrestling is always great by me. So I am all for this. I think this is a great thing, and I think it's going to put eyes on Extreme Rules next week.
Hell yeah. And I'm really liking the build to that, but that's a story for another day.
Yes.
Will, it's time. What's your third best of the week?
Third best of the week. We're going to go in the other direction, and I'm going to give it to Mr. Wheeler Yuta. I thought that Utes here, making his way down to the ring, so the segment was scheduled, of course, to be MJF. We hear from MJF, but before MJF gets to make his way out, instead, we see Wheeler Yuta make his way out. Last week, he kind of got ate up on the mic. It was really bad looking in front of that Queen's crowd. MJF, basically, as soon as he started talking, Wheeler looked like a child out there, and then MJF bent him over his knee. This week, I thought Wheeler showed so much fire in front of that Philly crowd, which that's his home crowd, but he had control over the crowd. He was believable. He came off like somebody who was genuinely annoyed with MJF and wanted to fight, and the crowd got behind that. And that's pretty much all I want to see from pretty much anybody on the microphone. I've been saying all week, I don't need guys to be The Rock. I don't need guys to be MJF. Like, I get those are 10 out of 10 mic workers, but I will also take a 6 out of 10. And as long as I can believe that they believe what they're saying. And I thought Wheeler was so good here. MJF did a really good job, as Phil Lindsay pointed out, of taking it to Wheeler Yuta, but backing off a bit to let Wheeler get his words in and let Wheeler shine. And I just thought that, later on in the segment after the Moxley match, we then saw MJF in his skybox, and I guess in his club seat, I guess is what it was. But he was in his club seat, and he's on the mic, and then Wheeler shows up behind him. They start brawling. Wheeler looked great this week. I thought this was one of the best showings he's had. He's had great showings all year. Really, he had a great one with Moxley earlier this year. That's like still one of my top 10 matches this year. But being in there with MJF and holding his own with MJF Not something that most people would have expected him to be able to do. He did it. That's my number 3 pick this week.
Okay, so I'm gonna need you to cue my second pick before I comment.
Okay. All right. Well,
Okay.
second best pick of the week.
Oh, surprise! It's the same thing.
Okay.
It's the MJF Yuta confrontation. That's what I placed as second of this week. And the reason for that is pretty much the exact same things that you stated. And I'll be real with you, man. Last week when it was MJF and Yuta on the mic, after that promo that Yuta cut, I thought, I never want to hear this man speak on the microphone ever again. I was embarrassed for him. It was so bad. And I thought, why would they do this to him? Oh my God, like poor guy. He was like a little kid and being eaten by a lion. It was so bad and so embarrassing for him. And I just thought, like, MJF is clearly at another level when it comes to his promo work. Anybody that you put up against MJF has to be solid and has to be confident, all right? And let's be real, we haven't heard much of Yuta in terms of like his personality, in terms of, obviously in ring wise, he's been showing up. Okay, great. We know that. That's not a problem. We know that he's, good in the ring and solid and all of that good stuff. But on the mic, we haven't really gotten much of him in that perspective. And so when we did, and it was the first thing that you got when you thought was, oh shit, he sucks, then it was not a good look. And then so fast forward to this week when he started this off, instead of it being MJF as it had been promoted, I thought, oh God, they're gonna shove this down our throats. This is gonna be god awful. And so I'm ready to watch a train wreck, okay? And I'm watching and I'm listening and I'm like, okay, so far nothing too out of the ordinary. There was a moment where I did notice a little bit of nervousness in him, and he ended up managing to turn that nervousness into energy for his actual delivery. So like you sense the nervousness in him, but he caught it quickly and like resurfaced that and used it into like anger. And I caught that right away because, I know stuff like that. Like you can tell when someone has a nervous energy and you either like let it consume you or you turn it into something else. And I saw, because there was a moment, Will, I don't know if you caught this, but there was a moment where Wheeler Yuta's voice squeaked a little bit. It was like, and I'm like, I know that because that's happened to me before. And so he caught himself and then he ended up delivering this like fiery promo. And before you know it, the crowd is behind this guy and he really just picked it up. And I think that was a thing that it's really hard to do, especially when the week before, Will, if someone points out, hey, Will, you suck at this, all of a sudden, the 100 things that you're great at, you're going to forget, right? Because you're focusing on this one thing that you can't get right. And so that could have easily like ruined his entire promo work here on Dynamite. And it didn't. He didn't let it consume him. He came out on top. And so that was good. I thought he redeemed himself for sure. But to follow that up, I loved the surprise attack from behind that you mentioned on the skybox. And I particularly like that because I feel like sometimes just, mixing things up is really, you could do little things like change of scenery, little stuff like that. And when he actually came from behind and surprised MJF, I wasn't expecting to see Wheeler Yuta come up from behind on MJF. I was legitimately surprised by that. And I thought it just added a little bit more of this edginess to Wheeler Yuta and followed up by that promo. I thought it was great. I thought, okay, this is finally a feud that I can get behind in terms of like, this is the program that MJF could be in, right? Because MJF's coming off like the hottest thing he's, ever done, this big drama controversy thing that led into all of this. You can't just go in and be like, oh, it's going to be, MJF working with whoever, right? Bottom of the barrel type person. No, Wheeler Yuta feels a little bit more like he belongs in that spot after what they did with him during this segment on Dynamite.
Hell yeah. Look at us.
We're vibing. We're vibing.
Know, right? I agree. I'm looking forward to the match. And I think that, obviously MJF is going to win. And he needs to win. MJF is, not really won this year. And I tweeted the other day, I'm like, it's weird, but MJF, as hot as he is, on paper is still all talk, right? Because he's only won one match this year, and that was against CM Punk in February. Other than that, this is a guy who still got squashed by Wardlow. He lost to CM Punk in the dog collar match. This is a guy who hasn't actually won anything this year. And before he gets to the title, he needs to actually amass some victories. And so ultimately he's going to beat Wheeler Yuta, but I hope that they do what they've done for Wheeler in the past, the same thing they did with Moxley, in matches like that, of just make him look strong, make him look good, make him look like MJF just barely escaped, but at the end of the day gets the victory. I think that's the best thing they can do for him. And I'm glad it's happening on the Dynamite anniversary, which, by
Yeah.
the way, is actually today. Today is the 3-year anniversary of Dynamite. But
You should tell Tony, yo, what's up? Should have done a Sunday show, bro.
I know, right? So, my number 2. I hear podcasts going in the background. This sounds great. But I wonder if they could also hear ours on that one there. But my second best pick of the week. Actually, we're going to turn it to Rampage because I wasn't sure what to expect. Take that back. Kind of was, but I was still pleasantly surprised. And that was on Rampage. We had a match between Jamie Hayter and Willow Nightingale. I thought that Jamie Hayter, again, she is getting so organically over. It is weird to think that the women's division hasn't yet had a people's choice person get over, in a sense, become kind of the star of the division. And they have a chance with that with Jamie Hayter. They have a chance to actually put somebody that wasn't chosen necessarily by the company, but chosen by the fans to be that person. And I feel like that's something that they can take their time with. Don't rush it. If you've got other plans, let this continue to simmer. Let it boil over. Give us a Wardlow type moment where finally, or better yet, I'd rather see it blow off like Batista. I'd rather see it be like give us that big moment in the ring where Jamie finally reveals that she's known and been ahead of Britt, one step ahead of Britt the whole time, and then finally takes her down. Give us that moment. But until then, it's nice to see that it's happening. We're seeing this ground swelling with Jamie. But on the other side of things, every time Willow Nightingale is out there, the fans get behind her. And it's seeming more and more like AEW is getting as into Willow as they can. They're kind of doing a lot of that stuff they did with Jungle Boy in the beginning with the get them over through losses. That's the same thing that happened with Wheeler Yuta. And I feel like we're right there with the two of them. And what was nice was that this Philadelphia crowd couldn't decide who they wanted more. Our pick, Jamie Hayter, or the one who's never let us down, Willow Nightingale. And I thought that the two of them on Rampage this week, because it actually started inside of the Lumberjack match on Dynamite, where the two of them started brawling. Fans got into that. So you could immediately tell something was going to be special with these two on Rampage. And I thought that given the stage that they got to have that one-on-one match, they delivered. And crowd was into it. We had dueling chants of let's go Willow, let's go Jamie. I thought the action was great. I thought that Jamie reminded us of her absolute feats of strength. But then at the same time, we got to see Willow Nightingale just be as lovable and as what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. It's a charm as a babyface that really I haven't seen since like NXT Bailey, right? And I feel like Willow has that and has this ability to just get people behind her and get people into her, and to see those two just go out there and tear it down. That's a match I want to see a million times over. They're going to be in the 6-woman tag match on Dynamite this week, so it's clear that we're going to continue to see these two get to go at it. And I'm just happy for Willow. I'm happy to see her finally getting her shine and people get into her. It's great stuff. And again, Jamie Hayter, she's going to be a star, and it is just really cool to see the fans get to make that happen.
So I have to agree with you on this one too. Like I only saw because I was watching Rampage, but I wasn't like watching the show. So that's why for me, I'm like, okay, I can't really talk too much on this one. But here's the thing though. Oh, and the reason for that was because I was packing and I was about to leave the door. I didn't even get to watching the show because I had to leave. I had to leave to the airport. Okay, but anyways, I did get to watch this particular match, and the reason why was because this was the one where I felt this is going to be a test. Okay, so Jamie Hayter, like we mentioned, has been getting organically over. Okay, and that's a good thing, right? But for the most part, she has been in the shadows of in terms of the booking, she's been in the shadows of Britt Baker, not to the fans in the shadows, but, in terms of the actual story, she's sort of been, we've been waiting for that moment for her and Britt to really, really blow off. We've had, little bursts here and there, but they haven't fully gone with it, right? She's still, pretending to be besties with Britt Baker. They're doing like the whole MJF Wardlow type of thing there, with this, a slow burn when it comes to the full breakup moment between Britt and Britt and Jamie. And so
they'll never break off Rebel.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm thinking about Rebel right now, but she just popped into my head. Well, it's because I love Rebel. But anyways, so the point that I'm trying to get at here is that if she would have bombed in this match, the fans would have been like, you know what? Maybe we gave her too much love. We're going to push back now and not necessarily be too all that over the moon about Jamie. So she kind of had a big test here where she had to give the fans a reason, like, yes, this is why you have been rooting for me. This is why you have been cheering. Look at me go. Look at me finally get this moment here. Because she doesn't get very many like one-on-ones on Dynamite and Rampage very often, okay? So this was really one of the ones that we've recently seen. I don't know when the last one was because I don't remember. Will, I'm sure you do. But the point is, she's not there wrestling singles matches every week on Dynamite and Rampage. So for her to have this moment with Willow, and on top of that, Willow, like you said, is loved by everybody. It was like, okay, well, how is the crowd going to react to this? And
was it Thunder Rosa, by the way? Was that her last singles match? I think it was.
It might have been, and that was a long time ago now that I think about it. That was a while back. That was a couple months ago, if I recall. So the point is, it's not a week-to-week or even like a bi-weekly thing where she's getting these singles matches. And I think now they clearly have to make sure to keep her hot because the fans are saying, hey, we want Jamie Hayter. So what you got to do is make sure she's having these matches consistently.
Yeah.
Well, did you get the stat for that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
When was it?
It was in August, so just over 2 months ago, or just under 2 months ago.
That feels like a long time ago to me.
But and it's funny. So we talked about it on Grapsity yesterday, because it's a morning show I do. But we talked about it on Grapsity yesterday, and how one of the things that AEW fans that seems to work most for them. And it almost surprises me sometimes when Tony misses this, but I think in the last couple of months he seems to have an eye for it, is homegrown talent. That if you put somebody that AEW fans saw from, got to make versus somebody that AEW kind of acquired, they'll take the homegrown talent every time. That's just what works for AEW fans. It's actually really easy to get over with AEW fans.
Chris Statlander, Ruby Soho is a big example of that.
That was the exact example that Phil went for yesterday. That was the match, right? But it happens all the time. That's the reason that the Acclaimed is so over right now, is that that's somebody that the AEW fans got to bring up to see rise in front of them versus Swerve and Keith Lee, who were acquired talent. It's not that they don't like the acquired talent, but if you put them against homegrowns, the AEW fans will take the homegrown every time. And so I feel like Jamie Hayter is another one that AEW fans feel like, hey, we've kind of been with since we saw her the first time, and she's somebody that we're willing to get behind and watch grow, and we'll take that every time over somebody that you bring in from outside. And so it's nice seeing Jamie Hayter get over the way she's getting over, and I hope, like I said, take your time, get her there, make the fans want to see it, and then blow it off in a big way. Because I think the moment she finally does cross Britt Baker, like I hear it every week, every time she's out there and not turning on Britt Baker, people are mad, and they're like, why isn't she betraying Britt Baker? Why isn't she finally just standing up for herself? And I'm like, keep stringing that along. Keep stringing it along, make people really want to see it, and then just give it to them. I think it's going to be a great thing for that division if they can have somebody organically over like that, and Jamie Hayter is it.
And it's interesting too, also how like the crowd has turned on Britt Baker like a lot. I feel like I'm constantly just seeing people like they're done with Jamie Hayter being connected to Britt Baker, and obviously that's part of the story, and you kind of want that because you want people to be like, hey, we want her to separate from Britt Baker. But it is a little surprising to me, and I feel like right now lately Britt for what she does isn't being given a lot of credit for the stuff that she does. And so I don't know. It's been interesting to kind of see how that went from like where it peaked, where you had like everybody's favorite was Britt Baker, and I feel like that has died down like a lot. And we'll talk about that more later on, but it is one of those things that keeps me a little bit interested. And Will, I know you're like side-eyeing. What does she mean by later on?
No, I know
Later
what you mean.
on,
It's
Will.
like, oh,
Later on.
did you just spoil what your next pick is? Because we have to now get into our worst picks of the week. And
I did not. I did not.
Okay, let's see. So, like we said, we're switching up the format a little bit here. Before we were doing our top 3 and then our worst. Instead, we're doing our 3, 2, worst, and then 1. So let's talk about now. We're going to switch gears, switch moods here, and we're getting into our worst of the week. And we're starting with Denise Salcedo.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I was the worst of the week. I was like,
No.
what? I'm the worst of the week? How? I was going to say that's messed up, Will.
Nah, you're always the best.
There's a couple of people saying that my mic is hot. Sorry, I mean, I'm not hot, but too loud. I'm sorry, guys. This is my travel mic, so it just picks up whatever sound it picks up.
So what's
guys.
happening is it's like if you go a moment without talking, it's almost like it's overcompensating. So when you start talking, it's like really loud and then it normalizes.
Oh, I see. Because I was muting it so you wouldn't hear the background sound. Okay, I won't mute it anymore, so it won't take me in and out. Okay, so it's time for my worst of the week. And I feel really bad putting this at worst of the week, but it had to go there because I believe in honesty. And with that being said, it has to be that Saraya promo on Dynamite. And I know you saw this coming, Will, but there was a lot of reasons that this was the worst for me. And I'm just going to go through them by bullet point off the top of my head. And that being, unfortunately, there was not a clear direction of what the purpose of this promo was going to be. And I don't know if that was just poor planning or nerves or what, but there was no clear purpose for this promo. It should have been very clear. People just wanted to know, okay, Saraya is back. Is she cleared? Is she not? It was that simple. And instead, it turned into, well, I'm going to start off talking about, I'm back. She's mentioning how this is her home. And then it goes into, let's bring out all the women. And then 5 women come out. And that wasn't clear. She made it seem like there was going to be like the entire women's roster coming out. And then I thought, okay, they're going to do a whole, we are the AEW women's division type thing. So I was expecting something along those lines. And then that didn't really happen. I just think that there was a lot happening here and nothing really made sense. Like they shoved too much into one thing. Unfortunately, there was a lot of the stuff that was said on Saraya's part. Like the nerves I get, like that one, I don't have an issue with her saying she was nervous. That's perfectly fine, man. She was just being real. Okay, I'm totally cool with that. I think the issue for me was mainly the part where she brought out the women and the part with Toni Storm where she said that she was like the best AEW women's champion. And I get why she was saying that, they're friends and that's supposed to be like the thing. But I kind of took that as a little bit of, it was a little bit insulting to the audience and the audience's intelligence because we know that's not true. And that's not to take away from Toni Storm, but let's be real. She just became champion, like this isn't like she's been going out and really being this fighting champion, even though that's what Saraya said. And I'm like, she's had like 2-3 matches. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily go out and say a fighting champion just yet. And also calling her the best AEW women's champion was a little bit of a reach there. So personally, I kind of felt like that was a little bit of insulting to the audience. And you knew that because the crowd started booing a lot. They really, really started booing a lot there. And there was a lot of people bringing up, the disrespected Thunder Rosa and all of this stuff. There was just a lot that went down there. And then unfortunately, the jokes, some of them just didn't necessarily hit the mark, with the Brit and the shit and all of that. That wasn't too OMG. Britt Baker went out there and I thought she did a tremendous job at trying to like
Taz,
reel
by the way,
things
with
in.
his whoa.
That was funny too. Whoa. It was unfortunate because I'm very excited for Saraya and I just feel like people don't forget first impressions. And unfortunately, this wasn't the best first impression for the AEW television side of things. And so I do kind of feel bad that this was not what it should have been.
Yeah, I will agree. I'm not going to make it my pick only because I've picked on this segment a lot this week, and I feel like I
You're
knew
like,
you were going to pick it, so I'm like, I don't want to continue to kick this one while it's down. And I've already really shit on this one this week. But I agree with a lot of what you said there. I agree with the AEW again, it goes back to the thing I was talking about with the AEW audience. The thing AEW audience doesn't like necessarily is being told that something from the outside is better than what they've had on the inside. And so I actually do think that Toni Storm has thus far been their best booked women's champion. And no, it hasn't been.
which is not saying much, Will.
I know, but I even mean going into her women's title win because I don't know if you know this. I've been pointing it out a bunch, but this week's match, where she will be in a 6-woman tag match where she teams with Willow Nightingale and who else is she teaming with?
What for the? I don't know actually.
Yeah,
sorry, I
'cause
don't
I
have
know
the card in front of me.
Sorry, somebody's gonna bring it up in the chat, but I know it's versus
Someone
Britt
could bring it up in the chat
Yeah,
because I don't
it's-
remember.
I know it's versus Britt Baker, not Britt Baker. It's versus I forgot the entire 6-woman tag match. I know it's Jamie Hayter. It's Jamie Hayter and Penelope Ford.
Oh yeah,
and-
Penelope Ford's in that. I forgot.
Yeah.
I completely forgot this. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, Athena, of course.
Athena.
Thank you.
That's not good. We
and-
forgot
and-
that too.
I know, and Serena Deeb. But my point here, though, is that with this match coming up, this is going to be the 9th straight Dynamite in which Toni Storm has had an in-ring appearance. And that has never been the case for the women's division at all. Even when Britt Baker was their top person, they had not had Britt Baker make 9 straight in-ring appearances. Hikaru Shida never made 9 straight in-ring appearances. Thunder Rosa didn't even make 2. And as far as, and even in the men's division, it's really just been like Jon Moxley who's come even close to like 9 straight appearances in ring on a show. And so for Toni Storm to be on the show that consistently, that is actually the best they've ever booked a women's champion. And
Which is really bad, Will, especially when you put it like that. Holy shit, that's really bad. I'm sorry. Like, I didn't think about it that way, you know?
Mhm.
But it's true. You're right in that sense. Holy dang.
Yeah,
It's kind of depressing, actually.
She's been really consistent on the show, though, and it's very clear that they want her there consistently. Like, I could guarantee you, she'll probably be on the show the week after. They have booked her consistently on Dynamite. And so that's not like a false statement as long as you quantify it. And I feel like Saraya just saying that. And look, this is coming from somebody who, for those who don't know that about me, I'm a massive Hikaru Shida fan. I'm literally wearing a Holy Shida shirt. Hold on. Right next to me, there is a Hikaru Shida action figure signed by her, by the way. And
Lovely stuff.
I also have her autograph right here. Look at that. Signed.
Okay,
Look
so
at that.
you're number 1 fan.
So, number 1 fan. Biggest Hikaru Shida fan on the planet. But
Start
and
a
I think-
fan club, Will. Start
Probably
a
could.
stan page. Come on.
Hey,
You're
she,
laggy. You got to get on it.
She had my tweet pinned for like a year, and I was really happy with that. Anytime people went to her page, I'm like, they're gonna see my tweet. But the so big Hikaru Shida fan. She's one of my all-time favorites. And that said, I still get the sentiment behind that. But I agree with everything you said there. I think that Saraya was way off. I thought that she had moments that the fans clearly wanted to be into. They were ready. You know, when she hit her "I'm back," the fans loved it. They were cheering. Bringing out the roster, I think there wasn't enough of them to get the point across because I think, you know, when the heels all came out, everybody's like, well, that's just Britt's friends and Penelope Ford. What is going on here? And like, why isn't like Jade Cargill here? Where's Sky Blue? Like, you almost didn't have enough people to make this work the way it was supposed to get by. Like, you had a lumberjack match that had like 6 people at ringside, and that's like not a lumberjack match. And No, I just feel like so many things didn't click here. I appreciate the effort. Like at the end of the day, this was like the longest women's segment that when you combine the promo and then the match that followed, which was a great match. Like this was the most time women have gotten on Dynamite in forever. And so like it did lay the groundwork for, hey, some changes are going to start happening on this show. But the content of what they were trying to put out there was just miss. We talked about the thing MJF is really good at, which is taking down his opponents, but in reality, he feeds for them. Basically, he makes sure that they're going to get their time to get their licks in and look good against him. Britt is really good on the mic at tearing down her opponents, but she doesn't necessarily give back the way that MJF does. And that's one of the things I want to see more of from Britt, because making fun of Saraya's name and not necessarily really, I'm not sure who this was on, but like Britt rhyming with shit just like didn't click, didn't hit. I think the crowd wanted to like give it something, and they still tried to give it a little bit of a It's kind of like when Max Caster has like a line that's like not really all that funny, but the crowd still gives him like a pity reaction. I feel like that's what this was. And yeah,
like the crowd knew their cue. They were like, "Oh, this is our cue to like react, that sort of thing." Kind of like put out have little stage hands out there and put out little cue cards for everybody. Yeah, and I do feel bad, honestly. Like I feel bad because this was, such an exciting thing for Saraya, and obviously she's going. I just hope that for future cause when she was on commentary, like everything was fine. She seemed more relaxed, all of that. I just hope that for future promo work like this, that they maybe maybe work with her a little bit more to like sharpen and refine and say like, hey, this is your purpose. Like this is the purpose of this promo. Like get straight into this purpose of it. So I do think that they need to kind of, if they're going to put her out there with a hot mic again, like just refine it a bit, just refine it.
Sure.
Also, I do want to say, guys, if you have any questions, comments, or statements, or you just want to help support this podcast, please send in any super chats. I know we have one. I know, Will, you'll pull it up in a second. But please, guys, help support the show. It really means a lot to us. Will and I just really started the show, so we're getting it going and running. And we listen to your feedback and your criticism and all of that as we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. We listen to everything, such as Nick. Nick sent in 2 super chats, so I'm going to read it both back to back. Nick sent this one in earlier. He says, in regards to the Saraya promo, I didn't have too many critiques, but I did find it offensive that Saraya called Toni Storm the best champion in the division's history when she's barely been champ, ignoring Hikaru Shida's. And yeah, like I can agree with that. My issue, of course, with the Shida stuff was that Shida was just ill-timed, really, because Shida won the title in the pandemic, no fans around. And it's one of those moments that I would love to call one of my favorites, but I feel like it would have needed, especially considering how over she was getting before the pandemic. I really felt like it needed that crowd pop. And then on top of that, all of her competition was gone. It was like back to back to back to back. It was like Chris Statlander got injured, Britt Baker got injured, and all of these people weren't able to travel due to the pandemic. And so like that, the good thing is that brought us Thunder Rosa because of the fact that they were so short on women at the time. But that, I think, hurt the reign overall. Like at the end of the day, we got to see some people step up. We saw Penelope Ford step up. We saw Ty Conti step up. I almost wanted to say Ty Mello, but she wasn't Ty Mello at the time. But we got to see Ty Conti step up, and we saw a number of people step up and show that they could bring it with Shida. I just would have liked to have seen more from that reign, and I hope she does get another shot at it. And he also says, Will, I've only recently heard of you. Thank you. But my respect for you shot straight up since you're a fellow biggest Hikaru Shida fan alongside myself. I even have her micro brawler. I have that too. It's on my keychain. And trying to collect most of the trading card variants. Hey, I mean, look, man, Shining Samurai over here. It is Shida life all day long. I will watch whatever she's doing, wherever she's doing it. And I think we had another. Yes, we did. This one is from Mr. CJ Lilly, I think that's saying, or Sigilly?
No, CJ Lilly. Yeah, CJ.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It says, sorry, it's the lack of caps, but it says, hey, Will, Denise and Will, I'm a big Paige/Saraya fan, but very disappointed at her promo, especially the WWE shot, as Triple H would listen to her, and TK had not had the not listening thing to its biting the hand that fed her so much. I can see why people might be upset about that. I don't know how you felt about it. I fully disagree with that statement for two reasons. One, guys, it's pro wrestling. The easiest way to pop fans is knowing what gets them. And what gets AEW fans is, hey, I'm in a better place than the last place I was. Yay! Like, that gets people going. So, like, at the end of the day, that's really what that was. But also, she wasn't working for Triple H when she left. She was working for Vince. Like, that could very well be true. That's a statement she felt that she didn't feel necessarily listened to. I mean, as far as Tony is concerned, that's not really a sentiment you necessarily hear from a lot of wrestlers necessarily, is that Tony doesn't listen to them, because I mean, that's the thing that, if anything, you hear a lot from wrestlers, that Tony listens to. So I don't know. I didn't think it was that bad, but also, like, I don't necessarily exist in I don't believe anybody needs to be grateful to corporations. So, like, that's I don't care. As far as like, oh, you should be loyal to WWE or be grateful to WWE because they gave you this opportunity. No, you don't. It's a freaking corporation, and at the end of the day, like, they will be fine whether you thank them or not. They don't actually care. So
Yeah. Honestly, out of everything that was said during that promo, that was probably the least that necessarily bothered me. Like, it didn't really bother me at all. Like, that did not bother me at all. But I do think, though, that because it wasn't really like, it was a quick shot, so I get why a lot of people were upset by it, especially like if that was just something that bothered them. I get why a lot of people were upset, because they were, to the point where she had to put out a comment on Twitter and that sort of thing. And unfortunately, I thought the Twitter post that she had made originally did kind of look a little bit bad, because it was kind of basically, it was just not too clear, I think. Right. I think afterwards she put a follow-up one. Which, did she put the first did she mention the Triple H part in the first tweet, or was it the second tweet? It might have been in the first tweet.
I don't recall, because she had to delete some stuff. And
she deleted some stuff, right? I think, like, unfortunately, sometimes when you delete tweets, it kind of looks bad on the person, right? Because it's like, oh, well, you didn't stick to your guns, that sort of thing. So I feel like maybe the explanation could have been a little bit better, because if not, it leads to people basically being like, oh, well, she's biting the hand that fed her, that type of argument. So it gives those people, when you delete your tweets, it gives those people that validation of like, oh, she messed up. But here's the thing, though, you also have to take responsibility. And that's the thing. If you throw any sort of a shot to another company and then kind of basically say like, oh, I don't hate this company, unfortunately, it doesn't read the same way, right? Like, not everybody's going to be like, well, she meant this, she didn't mean that. Not a lot of people are going to break it down like that. They're just going to see it and be like, oh, she hates WWE. That's it. Like, that's how some people are going to read that. So I feel like from a performer standpoint, you just have to be like cognizant of that. Like, if you're going to go out and do any shot, just know people are going to read it as you hate WWE. That's it. Like, yeah, that's how people are going to take that.
And honestly, this goes back to the old adage of Saraya. Just my advice here, my unsolicited advice, is just get offline for a minute. And I mean that. Look,
emotional tweet. Trust me.
And I say this as somebody who is sitting next to somebody, Denise Salcedo, who has literally had to tell me sometimes, like, hey,
Will, I have to calm your ass down. Yeah, I'm like, Will, do not respond to this.
Yeah, Will, do not respond. Will, let it go. And I'll be like, okay, and just leave it in the drafts. And so, like, I get it. I get when, like, somebody and people are making your blood boil and you feel like you have to comment on it. You feel like you have to go in. Feel like you have to explain yourself. But at the end of the day, cooler heads will typically prevail. And if everything in wrestling is redeemable and everything in pro wrestling can be brought back down, we can things can have kind of reverse reactions. And that's going to take me into my worst pick of the week, because it's funny how things can be very exciting and then can have the reverse effect after a little bit of time. And like I said, I didn't want to continue to kick the Saraya segment while it's down. It's already down. I know. It's probably my true worst pick of the week. So then I had to think, what's my second worst pick of the week?
Will, that's not the prompt, though. That's not the assignment. The assignment is, what is the worst of the week?
I know. But like I said, I'm going to try to be kinder to that segment. But what I'm not going to be kinder to, and I feel bad because these are all friends of mine. And it's not necessarily them, but it is not working, and something's got to change. And I really feel like they should probably be in NXT 2.0 as an act, refining themselves. But Hit Row is not working. And Hit Row is not working on the main roster. The backstage segments aren't any good. The performance that they had in front of the crowd at, I think that was in Toronto, was it? I know it was in Canada, but where the crowd was booing them by the end of the performance, that didn't hit. None of the stuff with Maximum Male Models is hitting. I thought that.
You think, Will? You think? I mean, I don't know. I think you had a friend, a very dear and lovely friend, who may have been like, "Hey, Will, this sucks ass." I don't know who that friend could have been, but you know.
Hey, I'm 1 for 2 because I at least got you to come around on Scissor Me Daddy Ass. But
I did, actually.
Yes. That said,
actually, I don't even think I know how to do it properly.
It doesn't matter.
I have to keep looking at the picture.
But yeah,
which finger is it?
I think that something is not clicking with Hit Row, and I'm not sure exactly what it is, but the tag division as a whole isn't looking very good in WWE, and a big piece of it is that the Usos are just so dominant that nobody looks like they can compete with the Usos. I don't care who they're going to defend the titles against next. It's not gonna, like, we know it's not gonna happen. And so that's already an issue in itself. But I just think something's not clicking with Hit Row, and this week felt exceptionally bad. To the point of where I had to see if I was alone here. So I went on Twitter and just did a search as soon as their match was over for the terms Hit Row and Sucks, just to see if I was alone here. And it, like, my Twitter, I hit recent and it just lit up. And I was like, God damn, like, they've got to turn this around before this starts to seep its way into live crowds, because they're already not reacting, and that's bad. Squashing Los Lotharios also, like, it wasn't clicking. None of it's clicking. You got to stop. And I feel like they were. I can hear Joel Pearl in the background, by the way. And that's like really
that's why I was muting. I was muting it, but I'm afraid I'm gonna come back all loud.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's.
Let me protect this microphone.
So it's really like Swerve was the one who was getting over in NXT before, and he had kind of, you know, his heel act behind him. And to me, it would have been like, and look, I'm not saying Swerve is Triple H yet, anyway, but I am saying that, like, it would have been as if, like, DX was getting over, but we knew that it was really like Hunter was getting over, and he had 3 lackeys with him. And then one day Hunter just went off and did something else, but they were like, let's continue to push these other 3 and see how it works. And, like, you could kind of see, I don't know, because the New Age Outlaws were also really over, so maybe not. That bad comparison, forget I said that. Because at the end of the day, I don't feel like Hit Row is clicking. I need these guys to really get back to NXT and really refine themselves, refocus, regroup, just get some experience under them. At the end of the day, like, none of these guys collectively have a page worth of cage matches. Like, they don't. Collectively, I mean, if you put all their matches together, they don't have enough combined. And I think that they should still be developing. And I feel really bad for saying that. But I just don't think the act was ready for the main roster. And it's starting to show right now. I think people thought it was, like, they were all excited when Hit Row first came back, because I think they're remembering Hit Row with Swerve leading it. But Swerve has been wrestling 13 years, almost 14. The other guys, they're all still new at this, and they should still be in a place where they can, you know, it's like WWE has a program for this. They have something.
Do they? I wouldn't know, Will. Look.
Okay.
I'm not going to be a dick, but I'm a little bit. I'm always a little bit, just a little bit of a
I
dick.
know.
But oh, thanks, Will. Thank you for that. It's very kind of you. No, but in all honesty, though, how do I say this without being mean? I don't want to be mean because I like everybody involved, but I already knew that this was not going to be the hottest thing. I already knew. It was so obvious. Like, I watched the weekly programming, okay? When people were excited, like, oh yeah, Hit Row's back, I'm like, there's a very key component that's missing in this that was tying things together, because the thing with Hit Row was everybody served a purpose, right? Everybody had their little part and they played. And when you take out the big piece from it, you're left with all of the, you don't take the lead singer out of the background, you just left the background singers essentially, right? I don't know how to say it. You get me? Like, you just I feel bad, but I kind of already knew that this wasn't necessarily going to work without somebody being able to hold the team in terms of like in ring work. If there's nobody there to hold the team in that perspective, then you just have an act. That's it. You just have an act. You don't have like an actual tag team there. And I will say this, because I will give them some good stuff to say. I don't want to bury the entire thing, but I will say this. They have been finding little ways to hide some of the flaws. They are fully aware that they don't really have somebody that can hold the wrestling part of it for Hit Row. Okay, they are aware of that because I've been noticing it. When I went to SmackDown in Anaheim and they had Top Dollar, do his thing, he actually got some really great reactions from the crowd because they kept his portion. They kept Hit Row's portion very minimal. It was a fatal 4-way tag team match. And they had all the Imperium and freaking Brawling Brutes were out there, man. They were the ones, they were doing the work. I mean, Butch was literally like that entire match, man. Like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, he was running around up and down doing all the work along with Imperium and those guys, right? And they kept Hit Row's portion of it very, very limited. And I've been noticing that, like, they been pairing them up with the Street Profits. They've been finding ways to keep them from being exposed in terms of not being able to like put on like a 20-minute match, right?
And that's why it fell into my worst pick of the week.
Right, exactly.
Because I thought
more.
This exposed them. I thought that putting them up against Los Lotharios, who are a far more experienced team, full of far more experienced wrestlers, and they kept it short. They kept it as a squash, but like I feel that they got exposed very quickly in this match, and it became very apparent what we were looking at and how much more work they have to do. And I worry that as more people start to perceive it, as more people pick up on it, I'm actually going to send you a screenshot that's really funny, but I'm not going to put that here. But but as more people are starting to see it, I worry that it might be an irreversible stink, and I don't want that to happen to
But
them.
I don't know why everybody's so surprised. The writing was on the wall from the very beginning.
Again,
why are we surprised?
I think it was Swerve, because I want to mention a couple of things. So Orion Ben 666 says fixing Hit Row segments, or fixing Hit Row, no more segments in ring for a month. But again, on TV, like on SmackDown, I think that's going to expose him too much. I would honestly put him on like Level Up, but that's me.
Level Up. Damn, Will, not even NXT 2.0.
I don't know, because
you can't do NXT 2.0. You going to Level Up.
I hate to say
this. Look, I'll just be real. Will, you need to be a boss somewhere, because ain't no bullshit with you. Just be like, bruh, you ain't there yet. No, you know what? Okay. Yeah. I'm not even going to. No, I can't. I was about to say something, and I would regret it if I said it afterwards. Okay. Never mind. But
Dante,
all I'm going to say is this. All I'm going to say is this. How am I going to say it? When Legado del Fantasma gets their ass to the main roster, they're going to do a kick-ass job. That's all I'm going to say right now.
Yeah, probably. Those guys are ready.
That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. I'm done. I'm done.
Dante NYC says Hit Row without Swerve isn't Hit Row. He was a big piece of the puzzle. Also, is Joel doing a podcast right next to Denise? Dang, he's
Pretty
loud.
much.
Yeah. It's like right on the other side of the wall, right?
Yeah, on the other side.
And I want to shout out, by the way, Jeremy Lambert getting married today because I wanted to do everything I could to be there, and unfortunately, my wife is currently hosting a kidney walk right now, and I wasn't able to make things work, and so I couldn't go. But shout out Jeremy. I have a sentimental Twitter post I'm gonna put out again, but I wanted to make sure I said it on a podcast.
Yeah. I got after this, I got to get ready for the wedding. That's why I look all like I look like a boy today. Sorry, because I have hardly no makeup on, and like a dead boy. That's what I was telling my husband right before I went on the air. I was because I don't want to put too much makeup on because I have to get myself ready for the wedding. And if I put makeup on for the podcast and then makeup on afterwards for the wedding, I'm gonna look stupid. Like my skin's gonna get like really bad. So I have to wait until this podcast is done to do my full face of makeup. Long story short, Will, I look like a dead boy right now.
I disagree, but
well, that's what I see. You're hosting this show with Dennis Salcedo.
And with that, I think
I was gonna put my hair up in a ponytail, and I was like, nah, it's gonna get worse.
No, I fully disagree. I think you still look lovely, Denise.
Thanks,
and
dude.
that leaves us to Dennis Salcedo's first best of the week.
All right, so here we go. My first best of the week. It's not necessarily, how do I put this? Because I think people are going to be a little bit surprised. It was Bandido versus Jericho for the Ring of Honor Championship. And I could tell by Will's face that he's surprised by this. But the reason I'm putting this on here is because a lot of people get opportunities to be on Dynamite. And, they have big names, right? Or there's people that have like somewhat of a big name or big names or whatever. And not everybody always blows it out of the park, okay? And how do I say this? But Bandido went out there and he wrestled this match with Chris Jericho. And let's be real, Chris Jericho, obviously he's not going to be moving at the same speed as Bandido. And that's not a shot. That's just how it is, right? Mm-hmm. Okay? But he went out there and he freaking worked, man. He freaking hustled. He did everything possible to make that match like a standout performance for him. He really did. Like, he made sure, like, hey, I'm going to be, in this match against Chris Jericho on like the biggest show of the week. I'm going to make sure that people know who the fuck I am. And I hate to curse, but he literally freaking did that. And the reason I'm so freaking happy about that is because for like the longest time, like I've been like, there's so many people that, how do I say this? There's a lot of people that get opportunities and I'm like, man, that person's not even that great. Like, why are they getting these big opportunities when there's all these other people that, they're freaking great and they're amazing wrestlers and they get like nowhere near the same amount of opportunities. And I just think to myself, like, I think you have to like expand the pool and, really see what's out there. And Bandido went out there and he just showed who he is and why he's literally like wrestling like a million shows a week in Mexico, and why he's constantly booking all of these shows in the indies, because the guy is freaking hustling and working his butt off, and he's a great freaking talent, and he showed that in that match with Jericho. That vertical suplex spot, holy Jesus Christ, poor guy, he looked like me when I try to carry something hard and I'm right there like dying, and he freaking made that what could have been a god awful moment into a great freaking moment where everybody was like, holy shit, like you can tell like his body was trembling trying to hold up Jericho. Jericho's body was like halfway down already. And they made it into a moment where it was like the crowd was like, you know what? Holy shit. That was freaking awesome. Was it perfectly executed? Probably not, but look at how long they held that thing for. So I just got it really put over Bandido during this. And, obviously he, Jericho as well for, going in there with Bandido and just doing that match. I thought he really, really showed out.
I agree. I thought this was a phenomenal main event. And Jericho is just continuing to remind us that, it's funny that people got so mad with him winning the ROH title, but like, there's really no point in his wrestling career. Like, people forget Chris Jericho is still a wrestler, and like, the sports entertainer thing is a character he's playing, but at the end of the day, he is somebody who can very much go in the ring. There's no point in his career that I wouldn't have made him Ring of Honor World Champion, just because he's always been at that point. But yeah, you almost forget that Chris Jericho made a career out of wrestling luchadors, out of that's what put him on the map. Wrestling Juventud, wrestling Rey Mysterio. This Chris Jericho made a career out of this,
Mm-hmm.
and he reminded us in this match here that that's a style that actually complements him quite well. He did so great out there. This match was phenomenal. The rumor is that Bandido got offered a contract as soon as he got to the back, and deservedly so, because he absolutely should have.
And here's the thing is like, that was one of the things where I thought like, damn, like Bandido, when I saw a lot of like the ROH guys get picked up and I didn't see Bandido on there, I don't know if that was like by design or not. And I remember thinking like, why the fuck, like, why wouldn't you get Bandido right away? But here's the thing. I mean, I don't know, whether or not he's signed. That hasn't been put out yet or confirmed by AEW, right, or by Bandido. But I'm curious because he's making bank, okay? The man is making bank. Like, here's the thing. And if you work hard enough and if you know how to get yourself across the board, you don't need to be signed somewhere nowadays to make money. You could be freelance and make a good amount of money, right? Be independent and make money and travel and, get all of that. Like, he's making bank working all of the shows in Mexico and, the indie shows that he gets booked for here in the States and wherever else he may go. He's making bank. So, it's going to be interesting to see, what happens. I do hope that he obviously, I don't know what I hope for. I just hope he does what he needs to do, whatever works for him and his lifestyle.
Well, what's interesting too is that the other rumor is, according to Brian Alvarez, that WWE asked for his number before the match was over. So a lot could change.
This is what freaking drives me crazy. How the F are these people barely seeing what he can do? I'm sorry, but he's been out there doing the work. Why didn't people see it before?
He has been, but like Dynamite is something that
of course,
I'm well aware that people in WWE like actively watch. So
yeah.
That said, my number one pick of the week is going to be on the other side of things. Actually, we're flipping it over to Monday Night Raw. And this is almost like a stark contrast of women's divisions, because I just adored everything about the opening segment of Monday Night Raw from beginning to end of the match, starting with Bianca, starting with Damage Katarl, as Alex Pulowski has been calling them. But it is, I feel like this is clicking. And I thought that Bayley here was on point. The way that she came at Bianca Belair, talking about, you were the pick, you were you didn't grind the way I did and all of that. And that's a statement that a lot of people make in pro wrestling. That's almost like a cliche promo. But what I liked here was Bianca having probably the best comeback I've ever heard for any of that, which is that, if you were as good as me, then that wouldn't have been an issue. But I thought she shut that down so good, so well. Like, we've heard Cena get that a million times, but Bianca, I thought, had it down phenomenally. And I just thought that I'm really looking forward to the ladder match, Bianca Belair versus Bayley. I think it's going to be fantastic. I think that Bianca is currently having a much better title reign than she had the first time around. And I didn't think she had a bad one the first time around. But I think that this time around, second reign, she's coming off a lot better as Raw Women's Champion than she did as SmackDown's Women's Champion. And then on top of that, then it leads into kind of an awkward setup for her having a match with Io Sky. And, not going to lie, as I tweeted, I hate Velcro belts. And there was a moment where Io takes the belt off, but for whatever reason, it was like right next to the microphone. So you hear it go, and I'm like, oh, God, I hate that sound just made it to TV. And so we then get into a match that's actually really, really good. Of course, it's really good. We know Io Sky. We know Bianca Belair. We know what these two can do together. But to see it on this stage on Monday Night Raw is the opening match. Crowd is into it. Crowd's loving it. There were some phenomenal reversals. And I thought it was, I say this all the time, that Bianca's KOD is like the best looking KOD she's had, but she keeps having these phenomenal looking KODs. It's a great finisher. But at the end of all of this, I felt, and that's what professional wrestling is designed to do, is get me more into what I want to see next. And the fact that this ended, and by the time it was done, all I wanted to see was Bayley versus Bianca Belair. Made this my number one pick of the week. I want to see these two go at it. I want to see these two get to go at it in front of a crowd because look, I'm never gonna watch anything that happened in the Thunderdome ever again. And so the more we can redo from that time period, the better. This was one of those things. I'm excited to see it.
Man, I completely agree with you. I feel like right now the body of work that Bianca has been putting out has just been like tremendous. And obviously, like, we've seen the Bailey Bianca story before. We know that, right? We've seen them work together. We already know that. But here's the thing that obviously, Bailey was gone for such a long time. And Bianca has grown into like an entirely new performer. Like she was already great with what she was doing before, right? She wouldn't have been at that level. She wouldn't have been champion had she not been, but she's just improved so much. And granted, that's going to happen, but the body of work that she's been doing is tremendous. I am so excited for that ladder match. I really, really am, because I think we're going to see some awesome stuff. And right now, like the women's division, ever since they, Bailey returned and, they've been they added Io Shirai and Dakota Kai is there and just everything on top of everybody else that they already had. They really stacked up a division that was really starting to slim down. Like there was a moment where there was legitimately no one there really for Bianca to compete against. And that was hurting her championship run. Like I was kind of over Bianca being champion, and it wasn't necessarily her. It was just more the fact that there really wasn't much there to work with, right? Because it felt so slim. But now I'm to the point where I'm just like, dude, she's just, I was already there with just being impressed with everything she's doing, but now I'm excited. I'm excited consistently about the WWE women's division.
Yes. I'll say that Raw's women's division is really eclipsing SmackDown's to the point of where
everything is like SmackDown is practically like nude, man. They don't got nothing on there. They need more stuff.
Literally on SmackDown this week, you had Bayley having a match with Shotzi. Shout out getting the tank back. Bayley having a match with Shotzi, literally beats her, and then afterwards Bianca runs in on the same show where they're building up another SmackDown women's title feud, but the Raw women's feud has grown so much that it's literally happening on SmackDown as well. I do kind of think that we're starting to reach a point where they should probably merge those titles too, because you did it to everything else anyway. But regardless, it is the division that matters. It's the division that's grown, and it's the division that you can comfortably and believably open Raw with. You can close Raw with it, and you don't lose anything. It's a phenomenal division. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah, I completely agree. Did we go over everything? Yeah, we did. And we ended up on a good note. How do we feel about this format?
I will say I'm feeling the positivity. I'm feeling good. I feel like I can go out and have a good rest of my day because it's Sunday. It's a football day.
You're like, I put out some good energy, so we're good.
I
love it.
I feel good. Yeah.
All right. Well, before we wrap things up and continue on with our weekend, guys, I want to thank each and every single person, whether you watch live or you watch the replay of the show. Thank you so much for supporting us each and every single week, because without you guys, we truly cannot do this show. On top of that, right now, my YouTube channel is legitimately blowing up. So I want to thank any new viewers, any new subscribers that check this out. Will and I will be live each and every single Sunday. This is a new show. We're still tweaking things. So please send in your feedback. Tweet us. Our handles are here on the screen. We are more than welcome to listen to your feedback and whatnot. And please, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button to this channel. We're growing each and every single day. Will, before we go, let the people know where they can follow you and all of that good stuff.
Of course, you can always follow me, William RBR, and there's gonna be all the stuff I do. I'm up to I think I've got 6 podcasts coming up this week, possibly 7 if I can pull one cool interview off, but that's a work in progress. But other than that, you can find all that content, William RBR. That's my Instagram as well. That's pretty much every account I have where I'm a public presence. William RBR, that's me.
I love how you said a public presence. You guys,
because it's not my bank account name, but if you're gonna find me publicly, you'll probably find it with William RBR.
Now everybody's gonna be like, "Well, what's his bank account name?" All right, guys, please, you guys know where to find me: Twitter and Instagram @_Denise Salcedo, YouTube.com. You're already here. Click that subscribe button. Join this family. Got lots of cool programming coming up for you. But other than that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.